Hello, everyone. I'm just going to warn you straight up. This podcast may not be safe for work, so if you're in a touchy and sensitive area, you may want to save this for a little bit later. With all that being said, I can sum up this week's podcast, the first of 2014, with two words: super pussy. Greetings and salutations, my excellent friends. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Steve Miller, the internet's QiRanger, and this is the QiRanger Podcast, the very first QiRanger podcast of 2014, and I am so excited to have you here with me today on the QiRanger channel, on QiRanger.com, or downloading the MP3 from your favorite audio source. This podcast this year, I'm really excited about it because there are a few changes. First up, well, we got the iPad here with my notes on it so I can actually look at things a little bit easier. And of course, if I need to draw up additional information or show you, I can do that pretty easy with just the iPad. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is some of the changes. Of course, we have the two standard segments. We have the news segment, which we will be getting to in just a little bit, focusing on the major stories out of East Asia, here in the Koreas, in Japan, China, and of course, other major regional developments as they take place. But with Take Me Away, the weekly travel segment, I'm really excited to open that up to more people because what I plan to do with this segment is invite you onto the podcast. You see, I don't want Take Me Away to just be about a destination. I want it to be about stories. I want it to be about sharing experiences. So what I'm going to do is have friends, colleagues, other individuals that have compelling stories to tell about their experiences traveling abroad, traveling around the world on the podcast. Maybe it's about a passionate destination that they have that they want to share with you. Maybe it's a special tip on how to save money, or maybe it's a harrowing experience that can serve as a warning for others. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm jazzed about having this as part of the weekly podcast. So if you would like to be on the podcast, please shoot me a message. You can always reach me at podcast@QiRanger.com. Also, since I am back in Korea, that means the spring video season is now underway. So let me give you the rundown of what you can expect every week from me on QiRanger.com, the QiRanger channel, and of course the QiRanger vlog channel. Now, every day on the vlog channel, I promise I will upload a video, usually around 4 p.m. I have the entire day to upload it, so maybe at 11:59, if I'm doing something special, I can still get the video up and make that daily promise, that commitment to you. However, if I do miss a day, that is my fault. It's not because of some technical glitch. I throw it out to you. You can punish me for breaking the promise, and I must complete some task to make amends for not getting the video up. So that happens every day on the vlog channel. Now, on the QiRanger channel, the travel and news channel, this is what you can expect. Sunday, the QiRanger Podcast, just like right now. On Wednesday, I will continue with the walk and talk. Some of the videos will be featured from abroad and some will be more here. So if you have a particular location, you would like me to walk around and describe and show you in real time, please leave a comment and I will try to get out there. I love doing the walk and talks. It's a fun experience, and we get to share that experience in real time without fancy cuts, fancy editing. It's just me, a camera, and the experience. So that's coming out on Wednesdays. On Friday is the travel and more day. So we will see more QiRanger get out there, get caught. We will have some my life videos. We will have some product review videos. And I'm pleased to announce a new challenge for myself. This is something that I spoke with Joe about on our vacation, and we decided to try and give it a go. For quite some time, I've worked on radio shows, different television shows, had the opportunity to host my own television show for Arirang this past year, and I decided that I wanted to host a travel show. So I'm going to make it. So every month, I have a new series coming out called Out and About, and it will be a 30-minute travel show about a particular destination and what involves going there and everything that I can fit into it. And I'm very pleased to announce that the first episode of Out and About will be Angkor Wat Archaeological Park. That's right, from Siem Reap in Cambodia. I'm excited to show you that. I'm excited to edit it. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but it should prove to be very interesting. So if you have a particular location that you would like me to feature in a long format, please let me know. The bulk of the locations will have to be here in Korea just because we're entering the school year and I will have less time to travel. But you never know where I might end up. So that's what you can experience or expect to see on my channels this spring season with me. I hope you're as excited as I am, because I am really jazzed. I can't wait to sit back and do more filming, do more editing, and just share this glorious world with you. Now, all that being said, it's time to get cracking with the news. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. As we do every week, we start off with news from the Koreas, and this week's lead story actually is continuing to develop just a little bit, and it's about the proposed family reunions between North and South Korea. Now, during Chuseok, there was hope that the two Koreas would meet once more at the Mount Kumjong Resort and allow separated families to reunite over a couple of days. Pretty much as expected, North Korea said, no, we're not going to let that happen. And the reunions were canceled. It was pretty much a devastating blow to all of those that were gearing up for that hopeful reunion. In the past week, North Korea has sent overtures saying, hey, we'd like to have family reunions again. Both sides met. They set a date between the 20th and 25th of February. But that date is now in jeopardy. You see, there are some planned military drills coming to South Korea that involve B-52 flyovers. And North Korea has said if those flyovers take place, the family reunions are off the table. And again, this is the same pattern we see time and time again with North Korea, a bait and switch, a hook and carrot. And it's really sad that the South Korean government continues to fall for it. In my opinion, while I do think the family reunions need to take place, it's certainly worth a path to pursue. It seems that North Korea is really able to manipulate the South Korean government into elevating the people's hopes and then squashing them by canceling these events. The first thing that came to my mind when I saw this story about North Korea proposing family reunions, the first thing, honestly, that came to my mind was, what are they going to use an excuse to cancel them? And sure enough, they're using the military drills. It's the same routine that started all the escalation last year with the nuclear test. And quite honestly, with all the activity around the site, I do expect a nuclear test in the near future. So, what's going to happen with the family reunions? I really don't know. I honestly don't expect them to take place. I really hope that they do. I really hope that in the future that the South Korean government, rather than releasing the information to the public in a way that kind of elevates the hopes, I think that a more cautious approach would be more prudent. Because, like I said, every time that North Korea agrees to hold a meeting, they now are finding some reason to cancel it. And it's just the same pattern over and over again. Also, from the Koreas, President Park has said that she wants more tourism, specifically foreign tourism in Korea. And one of the ways that she feels that she can boost foreign tourism is to promote domestic tourism. And I don't think that is the appropriate way to go about things. Now, I say this for a couple of reasons. Number one, here in Korea, people just don't get a lot of time off. One of the most popular television shows that has been on Korea television for a while is One Night, 2 Days. Because for many Koreans, that's all the time that they can take off. This past Lunar New Year was a 4-day holiday. And for many, that was a long period of time that they could actually get away. A number of friends actually elect to leave the country and take a 4-day holiday someplace else. And that's their vacation. Now, as someone who travels a lot, going away for a weekend is a fantastic respite. It's a wonderful way to recharge your batteries. But if you're planning on bringing foreign tourists to Korea, they are going to come for a longer period of time. So by President Park saying that she wants to really promote domestic tourism, that's an industry really geared to servicing people who only have a couple of days, a weekend usually at most, to explore an area. It's not geared towards someone who's coming to Korea who can stay for a week or 2 weeks. Many of my friends who live in Southeast Asia and other parts here in East Asia, when they come to Korea, they stay for a week, 2 weeks, sometimes even longer than that. And it's not the same kind of schedule they keep. They don't want to go on some tour that's jam-packed. They want to have a leisurely paced experience in Korea. And that's what, for want of a better word, is really lacking in Korea. A lot of the tour packages in Korea are very just fast-paced. It's not something that I would want to experience as a foreign tourist here in Korea. So I think encouraging, I do think it's important to encourage more domestic travel in Korea, because I personally have been told by many of my Korean friends that I have traveled more throughout Korea than they have, and they've lived here for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And I've only been here 5 years, and I've seen more of the country than they have. It's a time issue. The other problem with Park's goal is that Koreans, by and large, do not have a high efficacy rating with English. And if you're going to have foreign tourists come to Korea, chances are they don't speak Korean. So the international language that they probably do speak is English. And a lot of big venues have substantial English support. But if they're going to go to some of the more rural areas, get away from Seoul, get away from Busan, that level of English starts to decrease. And if you want a lot of people to come to Korea, you're going to have to find out ways to increase the English information that's missing. It just isn't as relevant or representative, not even representative. It's not readily available in a lot of places, or you have to go through several steps to get the English information. And also, a lot of times the English information is grossly inadequate, because they'll have a full-on display of some item that looks really intricate, and the Korean that accompanies it is extensive. And then you only get a couple sentences in English. And as someone who isn't fluent in Korean, I can read a little bit. I feel like I'm missing out. I'm not getting the whole picture. And if you want foreign tourists to come here, you need to give them an experience that truly is worthwhile. So that is the news from the Koreas. So let's move on to East Asian news. And, well, we're going to stick with Korea just a little bit, because this is making huge news here in Seoul, but is also affecting Japan. And that is the state of Virginia in the United States has passed a bill requiring the use of EC and Sea of Japan in educational textbooks. Now, Japan opposed the matter and lobbied hard against it, saying that they were going to pull out all their businesses from Virginia. The Korean American Association lobbied for it, and it looks like this bill is going to finally get passed and signed by the governor. And this is a huge problem for me. Not the fact that it's two names. I'm a firm supporter that both names should be used. There's great historical evidence for the EC name and the International Hydrographic Organization, as well as the UN, recognize the Sea of Japan. But this is my problem with the whole issue. This is a lobbyist endeavor that has successfully manipulated politicians to require certain educational requirement. This has nothing to do with education. This has nothing to do with promoting the EC. This shows the power of lobbying in the United States. And the reason why I say this has nothing to do with education, the Korean American Association says that, oh, this is the correct name. I want more people to know about the name. Their efforts aren't going to have any effect. And the reason why I say that is that since 1999, the National Geographic Society has included the EC in its maps. And I think we all can agree that National Geographic has a far wider influence than the school system in Virginia. They do. And they've been doing this for almost 15 years. And for that influence not to have some kind of resonating effect that, hey, this body of water is also called the EC, shows the problem. And the problem comes down to education. What should have been done, and I think would be a valid pursuit of this matter, is to really hone in on geography classes, history classes, sociology classes, what have you, and talk about disputed areas, disputed names, and talk about the dispute itself. Talk about how Japan named that body of water the Sea of Japan because it had annexed Korea in 1910. Talk about how Korea has all this evidence about the name EC. Talk about how the United States, Japan, Korea are all part of the UN. Talk about how they're all part of the IHO. Talk about how there is a clause in the charter saying that if there is a dispute, both names are to be used, but Korea's attempts to get that passed haven't been well received by the IHO. Talk about that controversy in context with both names. Simply having a map with both names on it isn't going to change anything. So those are my thoughts on that. I would love to hear your thoughts on how this matter is going to play out, whether you think that we're giving lobbyists too much access to our educational system. Also, moving on to Japan, we have a lot of controversy over the NHK Broadcasting Group because its senior members are really saying, well, they're really parroting what the government is saying. And this is a problem for many in the news industry because the NHK was modeled after the BBC to be an impartial broadcast entity in Japan. And with so many members essentially parroting the government's quote-unquote right-wing stance on issues, many are calling into question the neutrality and reliability of the information that would be forthcoming from the NHK. And I think it's something that we need to watch about. I do like NHK News. I think it offers a really good interpretation of events across the Asian spectrum, and I will have to take a look at what comes out in the future as to whether or not it truly remains neutral. And finally, in this week's news segment, we talk about Korea and Japan once again. Now, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has offered to meet with President Park Geun-hye to smooth ties, to build a bridge of respect to talk about issues. But President Park Geun-hye has said until Japan offers a meaningful apologies and moves forward to atone for its wartime atrocities, she's not interested in meeting with Shinzo Abe. Shinzo Abe has come forward and said, I am going to make every effort to meet with President Park Geun-hye. I am willing to go the extra mile. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Now, personally, it's going, unless things change, I think it's going to be a PR nightmare for President Park Geun-hye. And the reason why I say this is that Shinzo Abe is coming out and saying, hey, I want to meet with you. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to have a sit down. And President Park Geun-hye is just saying, no, I don't want to hear it. Unless you apologize to, quote unquote, me, we'll say Korea, nothing's going to happen. And it makes Korea and President Park Geun-hye look unbending, unyielding, not wanting to work with Japan. And that's really unfortunate because there are so many issues here in East Asia. We have China, we have North Korea, that Korea and Japan must work on. And it also puts the United States in a tough issue because they're allies with both countries. There was a great analysis that came out while I was on vacation that while Park Geun-hye's stance plays out well domestically, being anti-Japan, it could in the long run be harmful because it could stress ties so much with Japan that China's influence could be exerted more heavily in the area. And that's one of the problems that happened way back in the day. China's influence was so strong that Korea's influence wasn't as great and really had to, in some ways, bow to the will of China until the end of the First Sino-Japanese War. So this is something that really needs to be settled, really needs to be locked down, and I really hope that the two countries put aside this squabbling and have meaningful talks. As long as there is no dialogue, nothing is going to get done because neither one of these governments is going to back down from their position. All right, my friends, that is the news. I will be back in just a second. This week on Take Me Away, we're going to have a frank discussion on sex in Southeast Asia. It most certainly isn't safe for work. Just take me away. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Yes, it's time to talk about sex. Oh, yeah. Now, unfortunately, in Southeast Asia, the sex trade is, well, big, and it's not something that I like to see because unfortunately trafficking is huge there and a lot of people are taken advantage of, and people go to Southeast Asia specifically for sex. And one of my friends, Brad, that we were visiting in Bangkok, Thailand, actually had a new term, clued me into a new term, the sexpat, a person who goes to Southeast Asia. I've always heard about sex tourists and whatnot, but not sexpats. So sexpat would be someone who is, say, in a foreign Southeast Asian country long-term, an expat who is primarily there to take part in the sex trade there. And that's not fun. But it is there, and it is something that you can see. It is something that you will be exposed to if you go to several of the countries that I went to, as well as, I was accompanied by Joe, that we went to while we were in several of these countries. So that's what I want to talk about. First up, let's talk about the Philippines, where I was offered service. And the story behind this was I was meeting our driver to pick up some information from the car. And on the way back to the restaurant that evening, two women approached me and they said, hey, massage. And I knew what they were really asking for, so I teased with them and I said, really, just massage? And they responded, well, you can have service if you want. And this was right out in the open. And this is something that as a male, if you're in Southeast Asia, a lot of times when you go around walking by yourself, you will be approached for quote unquote massage. And it's just a euphemism, so be prepared for it. Some of the things that were interesting that we didn't see this time. Here in Korea, and to an extent in Japan as well, you have what are called host bars or hostess clubs. And these are bars where women are there. You sit with them, you chat with them, you buy them drinks, they drink with you. You're essentially paying for a companion while you're at a bar. Now, in the Philippines, traditionally they've been called GROs, guest relation officers. And when we would pull into our hotels many times, going through the side streets into where we stay in Chinatown, you would see signs, GRO wanted. But on our last trip, we didn't see that. We saw CCA wanted. In fact, the signs would say, wanted CCAs, 18 to 25s, earn 400 to 1,000 pesos per night. And Joe and I actually had a little contest going along. What is a CCA? So one night I just went across the street from our hotel where there were a number of ads posted up and just asked them. They were trying to get me into the club, but I just wanted to know, what is a CCA? And it is a customer care advisor. Customer care advisor. So customer care assistant. Customer care assistant, that's what it was. So, no, it is advisor. Oh, I forgot. It's only been a week and I forgot. Oh! So customer care advisor. That's what it is. Customer care advisor. Joe and I thought customer care agent or customer care assistant, but it's advisor. So that's the confusion there. And you see that pretty much all over the Philippines. It's something very common. While we were down last summer in El Nido, there were a number of clubs that way as well. And in fact, we were walking and decided to walk into a bar one time because it had a great name. And as soon as Joe and I walked through the doors, it was filled with women, CCAs. And they just turned around and they were beelining towards me. So if you want that kind of action, you can certainly have it. Now, talking about Singapore, where prostitution appears to be legal, you have these rows of houses. Now, I posted a vlog while we were there because we were staying in the red light district in Geylang. And essentially what you do is it's houses of massage, again, a euphemism for sex. And you go in and you take a look at essentially an aquarium full of women, and you decide which one you want, and you pay, and there you go. Now, the interesting thing about this, because I was really intrigued about this, Joe and I had watched a documentary a while back about this kind of setup. It was actually filmed in Bangkok. But the thing that really impressed me about this was in Singapore, you had all these houses set up. And in a lot of places, elsewhere, people are actually actively trying to recruit men to go into the places. And that was the same in Singapore. But the difference was, hey, come in, take a look. If you see something you like, that's great. If not, move on. And that was just the attitude. This is business. We have these women available. And if you like it, you can use it. If not, you can go on. And depending on where you were, I believe 40 minutes was about 80 Singaporean dollars and $100 for a full hour. So, and there were a lot of different things. There's an odd side of the street, an even side of the street. It was just really interesting to walk because I would see men coming up and down the street, making the rounds from time to time. From place to place to place, just scoping out and seeing what they wanted. And it was certainly a new experience for me because I'm not interested in that, but I mean, that's not something you typically see here in Korea or back in the United States. And everyone was just really chill about it. It's just the way things are. So you can certainly have that experience if you want it. And again, you go into the place, you have a wall a glass wall, and behind that glass wall there are several women there, each with numbers, and you just make your selection. Moving on to Bangkok, we of course have to talk about Super Pussy. Now, Super Pussy is a bar. They serve alcohol there, but it's a sex show place. And Joe was adamant about taking me there. She actually went to Bangkok about 10 years ago and went to Super Pussy herself and saw the shows. So my friend Brad, myself, and Joe, we went to Super Pussy, and we negotiated before we went in there. 500 baht, all in, boom. That's what it is. Because a lot of these places in Bangkok especially, they'll trip you up. Each type of show has a price attached to it. So you need to pay for your drinks. And then you have to, you saw the ping pong show, that's this amount of money. You saw the dart show, this is this amount of money. You saw this sex show, that's this amount of money. So the longer you stay there, the tally keeps on going up. But we were able to pay 500 baht straight up, go in there for our show and beer. And what we saw there was, really interesting. A lot of times women who are doing these types of shows used to be the GROs, the CCAs, what have you, or call girls or massage therapists in their youth. And they were, as they get older, they don't draw the same crowd. So then they develop this skill set and still work in the industry, but have other skills. So what we saw was, of course, the ping pong show and a few others. Now, before I get to the ping pong show was the last of the ones that we saw, and quite frankly, the most disappointing. The first thing we saw was the dart show. So essentially, a woman would get up there, stick a straw in her vagina, and shoot a dart out and break balloons. It was quite amazing. I mean, the accuracy was amazing. We saw someone smoke with their vagina. That was interesting. Probably the most intriguing was the razor blade show. And what happened was this woman went up on stage and she was dancing around. And in Bangkok, apparently you can't show breasts, so they all had their bikini tops on, but nothing down below. And she proceeded to pull out a string of razor blades, all connected. So just pulling. It was, oh my word, it was just intriguing to see. Completely amazing to see that come out and not draw blood. And to show that they were real, she would take them and slice a piece of paper. Now, personally, Joe had told me about this story about a show she saw years earlier where a woman put a paintbrush in her vagina and painted a picture, and that's what we all thought was coming. Not quite. So the final show we saw was the ping pong show, and Joe was telling us about the time that she went, that the woman was on the stage. On the far end there was a man with a paddle to return the ping pong. That's how much force was being used to shoot out the ping pong ball. And so that's they gave paddles to this expat that was on the far wall, and I was getting ready to see that. I thought it'd be really cool to see. But the woman who was doing the ping pong action could barely get it to the bar. So you have a little stage area, then you have the bar area where the bartenders walk back and forth, the counter, and then people can see. It never really got to the bar. That's how weak it was. So I was a little disappointed in that. But again, it was a fairly interesting experience, a fairly interesting show. It is, as I said, something, if you want the true Bangkok experience, that is something that most people will advertise. If you're walking up and down the street, you will get countless offers about ping pong shows, about sex shows, about lady shows. And just be careful. If you have any way of contacting someone locally who can make a better decision, make a better offer in terms of setting up a show for you, I would really recommend that. Now, before I round this out, I would like to share a very funny story with you. This happened in Phuket, Patong Beach, and our hotel was located near Kristen Massage. And this is a huge landmark. It's on the map. It's this massive pink building. And Joe and I were heading to the Money Changer, and we saw a place that did Thai massage, and next to it was crystal massage. So Joe went into the Thai massage place to find out how much it was. And I said, okay, I'm going to go into crystal massage and see how much their massages are. I walk up the stairs, and as I'm going up the stairs, I see a painting of a naked woman. I'm going, oh, this is not good. I glance to the right, and there's a full bar. I'm like, well, that's interesting. I glance to my left, and again, it's this aquarium full of women with numbers on their chests. And what was interesting is my first time ever in one of these places. As soon as I stepped through the door into this environment and they saw me, they all sat up on their perches, started primping and propping themselves, and then trying to make googly eyes at me. Now, that was interesting. And then I had the opportunity to talk with, I don't know what the appropriate term would be, but whoever was in charge of coordinating the customer with the girl. They came up to me and talked to me, and I was interested to see how much they charge for this service, because I'd never been in that. At that place, they charged 3,000 baht for an hour massage, and they do take credit cards. They were happy to announce. So yeah, that's my experience with sex in Southeast Asia. Once they gave me that information, I bolted out and reported back to Joe, because she thought that was quite funny. Yeah, so that's it for this week's Take Me Away. I'll be back in just a second. All right, my friends, that will just about do it for this week's podcast. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. You can find links to all the stories, of course, in the show notes over at QiRanger.com, and you can always keep track of all my adventures by following my social media links. Now, again, videos on the QiRanger channel come out at about 5 a.m. on Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, and videos on the vlog channel will come out on about 4 o'clock daily, so 4 p.m. daily. And of course, those times are Korea Standard Time, GMT +9. Now, if you have any feedback about the podcast, I would love to hear it from you. You can leave it down in the comment section, or you can email me directly at podcast@QiRanger.com. So that'll do it for this week. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Remember to be true to yourself and always be awesome. The QiRanger Podcast is written and produced by Steve Miller and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Morning Blue was written and performed by Josh Woodward.